Hello all, let's talk about the Texas Instrument Business Analyst 2 setup. The TI Business Analyst 2 calculator is the calculator of choice for accounting and finance programs at most universities. Let's work on the basic setup so that your calculator performs the way you expect it should. First, the on-off key is located in the upper right hand of the top row. Make sure that your calculator is on. If you look at the right-hand column, you'll see the mathematical functions. You have division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. So here's your number pad, 1, 2, 3, all the way through 9. If you decide you want to add numbers, you'll enter the amount followed by the function, followed by the equal sign. So for example, let's add 50,000 plus 25,000 plus 125,000. Your first step is to put in the 50,000, hit the addition function key, followed by 25,000. Again, the addition function key, followed by 125,000. At this point, you've entered all your numbers, so you'll click on equals and your display will show $200,000, which is the answer to the problem. Now let's try a division. Let's assume we make a $500,000 investment into a piece of equipment that's going to last 10 years, and we want to figure out what the straight line depreciation would be. We'd enter 500,000 with our keys, hit the divide function, enter 10, then enter equals, and you're going to get 50,000. Let's try a subtraction where we have a piece of equipment that cost us 150,000. The accumulated depreciation on it is 30,000. We want to figure out the book value. So we enter 150,000 as our amounts. Click on the subtraction function. Enter 30,000. Hit equal, and we get $120,000 book value. Finally, let's try a multiplication. Let's assume that a share of stock costs $30, and we decide we want to buy 100 shares. We want to know what the total cost will be. So we first click on $30. Click on the multiplication function, enter 100 for the 100 shares, click on equals, and you get $3,000. That's how you use these function keys. It's always wise to end the calculation by hitting second, quit, and then second, clear work. You should notice that on the last row to the far right side, there's a +/- key, which is used to change the sign for the number that you are entering. To change a number like 50,000 to a negative. When doing calculations in accounting or finance, you'll typically treat cash outflows as a negative number. So you'll be using this +/- key quite a bit. So again, if we're talking about an outflow of $100,000 because we're purchasing a piece of equipment, we would enter the 100,000 first, then switch the sign by clicking on the +/-. You should notice that there are characters on the face of each button as well as on the body of the calculator. The second button on row 2 activates the characters on the calculator. So if you want to activate any of these characters below the buttons, you're going to click second to do that. And when you do this, you'll see in the screen that second shows up. So anytime hitting this second button is going to cause these other functions to take precedent. Before using the calculator, make sure that it's set up in a way which is consistent with the use in the class. First, realize that in accounting and finance, the number of decimal points makes a difference. Setting the decimals requires that you press the second key followed by the format key, which is located in the middle of the last row. So you're going to click second, and then you're going to come down here and you're going to click on format. And now, once that happens, DEC or decimals will appear on your screen. So in this case, we have this calculator set up to 2 decimal places. Press the button for the number of decimals you wish to display. So if you wanted 4, you hit 4 and hit enter. Now you have 4 decimals. Going back to 2, you'd hit 2, then hit enter, and now it's set at 2. For finance and accounting classes, you'll need a minimum of 4 places, so you would press 4, hit enter. Your screen will display DEC equals 4.0000. Now press second and quit. And once you do that, your display will show the 4 decimal places. I recommend that you do the drill again, but this time entering 9 decimal places. Pressing 9 allows your display to float, giving you the opportunity to choose how you want to interpret the results. For example, if we took 45 and divided it by 9, you're going to get 5. If we have 45 and we divide it by 12, you're going to get 3.75. If we take 45 and divide it by 13, we're going to have 3.461538. So this gives you the flexibility to interpret the number or use the number the way you feel will best serve your needs for the particular problem you're working on. So keeping it at 9 allows it to float, even though it shows nothing on the basic display. Setting the payment per year is very important for your calculations. Press second and the PY button on the 3rd row. If your display reads P/Y equals 1, then press second and quit. If the display reads 12 or any other number, you'll need to change it by pressing the 1 button followed by pressing enter. You have set the payments per year to 1 at this point. You need to make sure that during your class that your professor is using a payment per year of 1. Now let's take a look at the financial buttons for the TI Business Analyst 2. The 3rd row is perhaps the most important row for accounting and finance majors. The buttons in the 3rd row will allow you to compute time value of money calculations. The 5 keys for financial calculations include N for the number of periods, IY for the interest, PV for what's known as present value, PMT for payments, and FV for future value. So PV, PMT, and FV are cash flow amounts. IY is going to be an interest percentage, and N is going to be the number of periods. When entering interest rates, you never enter them as a percent or a decimal. You enter them as a whole number. So 10% would just be entered as 10. 10.5% would be entered as 10.5. It's important that you realize that if you enter a number as a positive in PV, that the future value calculation will show up as a negative. Likewise, if PV is 0 and you enter numbers as PMT, the FV will be negative. If FV is 0 and you enter number as PMTs, the PV will be negative. So in these calculations, in these keys, one will be a positive and one will be a negative when solving problems. Remember that when you're entering cash flows in the calculator, anything that's a cash inflow should be entered as a positive number. All cash outflows should be entered as negative numbers. Let's demonstrate the time value of money key entries with a basic problem. Upon graduating from school, you receive $1,000 in gift money. You decide to invest the money in a bank account that earns 5% interest compounded annually. What will the $1,000 be worth in 8 years? There will be no payments into or out of the account during that period. Whenever working time value of money problems, you will always be given 4 of the 5 variables listed on row 3, the time value of money register row. First, enter the number and then click on the variable that you're entering. Since the $1,000 is a cash investment, it represents a cash outflow. So you'll need to enter the 1,000, convert the sign to a negative, and click PV. You're clicking PV because the $1,000 is the present value of your investment. Since the term is 8 years, you'll enter 8 and click N for the number of periods. When it comes to IY, you'll enter 5 and click IY for the interest rate. Remember, you never enter interest rates as a decimal, you enter them as a whole number. Next, enter 0 for payment, since there is no payment given. Now that the 4 variables are entered, it's time to compute. For time value of money computations, you'll always click the CPT key and the variable to be determined. In this case, click CPT and then FV. The calculation will display the answer. Future value will total 1,477.45544, or rounded $1,477.46. You'll follow the same steps to calculate N or IY, PV, or payment. Remember, 4 variables will always be given. Pressing the CPT key and the variable to be determined will always display your answer. The time value of money keys all store data. So when it's time to work another time value of money problem, you'll need to clear the registers. To clear these registers, you need to hit second, clear TVM. So at this point, if you want to clear out all your registers, you're going to hit second, clear TVM, second, quit, and second, clear work, or CE/C. At that point, all your registers are clear. You're ready to work on a new problem. All right, that should take care of you. You ought to be able to get up and going with this Business Analyst 2.